Welcome and thank you for tuning in. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm Daniel Davis. On the program today, we're going to be talking with a gentleman who for nearly 40 years has been a teacher, practitioner, and mentor to countless medical professionals, athletes, fitness experts, musicians, dancers, and just about every other human being on planet Earth. And he's going to be joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program today to talk about an interesting little thing that helps people to manage pain. It is simply titled Feldenkrais, and we're going to find out more about how this works and how it can help a lot of us who are aging age a lot younger. I'd like to welcome to the Beyond 50 radio program today our guest, Dr. Frank Wildman. Dr. Wildman, thank you for joining us on the program.
Hi.
How did all this start for you?
Sorry?
How did all this start for you here?
How did I develop this kind of thing?
Yes.
Well, it has been 40 years that I've been working with people who are older, especially when I was younger. and I started working, I developed the University of California's movement program for the elderly. And it was a program based on the Feldenkrais method, and it was designed just for elderly people. And that mostly turned out to be faculty. Retired faculty, and so this course was a hit, and it spread into many other courses through the University of California system, and I realized that it was a good idea to have specialized courses for older people because a lot of younger people were suffering from boomeritis. They would get boomeritis, which is an actual disease named by Dr. Nicholas Newblay, and Newblay found that a lot of people who stopped exercising, let's say in their 20s or 30s, and then they go back to do exercise in their 50s or whatever. And what they knew how to do was weight lift and do the same old kinds of exercises they'd always done, weightlifting a certain way and more pain, more gain, and all that kind of stuff. And they would overwork to the point where how boomeritis was discovered was that a growing number of middle-aged men were urinating blood. And at first they thought it was perhaps some drug problem, but then they discovered that actually they were exercising so hard that they were breaking down the muscle tissue in their body, and that the muscle tissue was, as it was dying, came out as blood. And he called for some radical new way of exercising, but he didn't know quite what to do. Just that people should exercise less vigorously. And at the time, I was looking at developing a whole new program based on the Feldenkrais method, and I developed something I call Change Your Age. And I call it Change Your Age because people don't realize they can change their age. They can't, your wrinkles will still be there, your organs are still aging, but your functional movements, your ability to do what you want to in the world, to move around, you can regain decades of things that you've lost. And you can improve your coordination at any age. People think, it's important to be strong, and it is. You can improve your strength, you can improve your flexibility, but most of all, the critical factor for, let's say, balance, falling, things like that, that feeling that you can feel safe in an environment and get along well, that's a matter of coordination. And that's something that we also lose as we age, and this program is designed to get that back. And in that sense, to get back a sense of gracefulness.
Dr. Wildman, we do a lot of health talks here on the program, and there's a lot of wonderful healing modalities and ways that a person can increase their strength and their energy. And it's quite fascinating when you hear on average out there the kinds of messages that people receive when it comes to this arena here for improving, you can call it anti-aging, reverse aging, regain that youthful look. But they sort of don't seem like they're real promises, so to speak. It's sort of like, here's some hope out here, but, your body's breaking down, it's aging, and there isn't anything that's going to change that. But obviously with change your age, you're saying, no, that's not true. You just haven't put the body into the right perspective or the mind into the right perspective to really feel the way that you possibly can, that it doesn't have to be this way of, well, you're getting older, so you're kind of limited to just how far you can go toward flexibility, strength, and even peace of mind.
Yeah, people don't realize that what they can do is learn to function better and learn to move in the ways they never did before.
Mm-hmm.
And if they think of those ways as involving a great deal of strength or sprinting much faster, that's probably not going to happen. Change your age is about the ability to have an easier time doing things like, I dropped my pen under my desk, and damn it, I have to go under the desk, get that pen, and get it out.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to know you can do that. Or that light bulb is out. I have to get on the stool and reach up above my head and unscrew it. But, that makes me a little anxious, and I'm not so certain of my balance, that kind of stuff. And people don't realize that they stall at the intersections. They're not sure how fast can they cross that intersection. How sure am I that I can accelerate? Mm-hmm. A lot of older people lose acceleration. And so we learn these activities that will speed people up, if you will, and make them withstand the impact of a crowd or the impact of even their own body. If it does fall, learning to fall well.
Now, tell us, it's interesting because you really are more into, I guess, teaching a person rather than putting them through a rigid set design number of steps and movements. Tell us how that works.
Yeah, well, this is definitely not an exercise program.
That's probably encouraging to a few listeners who are now just exasperating.
Yeah. It's an anti-exercise program.
Anti-exercise program for anti-aging.
That's right. Basically, you're doing movements that you always did, and everyone who's listening, you all did this program when you were infants and children. Every movement is designed as a developmental movement for adults, right? So it's something you've all done, and it's a developmental movement. That means it's something that was used in your early stages of development as you were learning to get up and walk and jump and run and all those things. And how did you learn those things? And so we go back into that. How do you learn it now, again, as an adult? And it's a lot of fun, It's actually funny. and it's fun. And people find that when they do master their developmental movements of the Change Your Age program, that they not only feel younger, but we have markers like tasks that they can do before and after, so they can measure how much they've improved. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty shocking because some people go back to running again who haven't run for 15 to 20 years. People go back to bicycling, which they gave up. People go back to skiing, long gone, 20 years ago. And they did that because they learned not through a routine, but they learned through a way of learning how to feel themselves differently and reorganize their body differently. They learned to be more graceful and, as I said before, coordinated. See, you can be as strong as you can as an ox. You can just be really strong. But if you're not coordinated, that's dangerous. You'll hurt yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're really, really flexible, but you don't have stability and balance in your joints, you're going to hurt yourself. Mm-hmm. So coordination is the key to real skill. A great athlete is highly coordinated. They're not just stronger. So people come to this workshop and they learn a large variety of completely different kinds of movements, again, all related to developmental movement. And they learn ways of doing things that make them more confident, like ways of getting up and down from the floor very quickly without having to use their hands, ways of jumping that they thought they would never jump again. And in these very practical ways, which has been tested over and over, they discover that they can accomplish things in their normal daily life that they found challenging. Like some people have said, I used to have a really hard time climbing the stairs to get to my front door. I have a full flight of stairs, and my knee hurts, and I had a hip operation, and I'm thinking I have to sell my house. And they just take a change your age course, and it's no problem. They can get up and down the stairs without any difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a big deal, That's a big deal to someone.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, it's simply that they know now how to get onto the floor without fear and join their grandchildren on the ground and play with them.
No, I think one of the biggest things that deter people, especially as we get older, where we perhaps haven't had went to the gym or did any running or bicycling, is that when we get back into trying to do something like that, and it could be different for everybody, but I kind of imagine it's the same as they start into these routines, there's those achy feelings, a sense of drained energy, and pretty soon your mind's saying to it, well, why don't you just go back to the way things were? It wasn't so bad now, was it? And that kind of discourages people from continuing and getting into a routine.
Right.
But from the sound of this is, this isn't a routine. Yeah. 2, you're talking about natural movement that we used to do as we were children. Of course, the benefits of this are you begin to feel younger and more youthful and do the things that you used to do when you were younger. That's pretty fascinating. Do people experience those kinds of, initiating, aches or pains or any of that when they're doing this?
Mostly, a lot of aches and pains go away.
Oh, okay.
Because a lot of aches and pains people have come from muscles that have been holding on in a habitual pattern, just held on to by habit for decades. And the example I like to give people is if I hand you something so light as a tennis ball, you can hold on to it for 10 minutes and you don't even realize it. It's nothing. If I said hold on to that tennis ball for an hour, please, you'll start to feel a little itchy in your forearm, If I said, hold on to that tennis ball all day long, just like you hold on to your tight neck and your tight hamstrings, just hold on to the tennis ball and keep holding on. Pretty soon they'll get pains and stiffness in the arm. It'll progress up into the elbows and shoulders and neck, and the whole right side of their body, if it's the right hand they're holding the ball with, will begin to hurt.
Wow.
And they can set down the tennis ball, and there's a great sense of relief, but the brain is left still holding on to many, many motor units, muscular units, that they're still holding on. They have to learn to let go. And that can take time. Mm-hmm. So in that same way, we teach people how to let go of habitual muscle tensions and feel those tensions that they never knew they had. All they knew they had was pain or limitation. But underneath pain and limitation, there's more to feel. And the voice they want to hear is the sensations that organize their movements, the sensations that make it possible for them to do things. And then they just keep learning that class after class, workshop after workshop. There's more to learn. There's a lot to learn about the mind and the body and how it works.
Mm-hmm. We did an interesting segment some time ago of a 66-year-old who was literally paraplegic and decided to engage in a series of stretching movements and got to a point within, I believe it was 18 months, where he was starting to do extensive walking to the point that he actually walked across Canada, of all things.
Wow.
And so the reason I brought that up is for the same reason that we're talking about what we are here, is the ideal of resilience, of being able to bounce back, and the possibility. How have you seen people, become resilient through this particular program, Feldenkrais?
Well, the program we're talking about is Change Your Age.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry. It's the method Feldenkrais is what I'm thinking, right? But it's Change Your Age. Okay.
Yeah, the program that we're dealing with, specialized for baby boomers, basically.
Okay.
Is Change Your Age, and that program the results are really, for me, they were at first astonishing. There are people who came into a program and used a walker to help themselves get around the room. And when they were done with the workshop, they sent an email saying, I don't use my walker anymore. I don't need it.
You'll find it on eBay if somebody needs to buy it.
Right. And I've had people send me a photograph of a cane that they used just to help themselves with balance, you know. And that cane, they put above the refrigerator where they couldn't reach it. So they sent me a photograph of their cane. But then you see, the audience that comes isn't all that old. We sometimes get people who are 39, people in their late 30s. This surprised me at first because the program is designed for baby boomers. And 39-year-olds came up to me and one woman said very clearly, she said, listen, Dr. Wildman, I'm going to be 40 next year, and that means I'm going to be half dead.
Oh, no.
And I need to start doing something about this now. So
it's crazy to think that at the age of 40, somebody would even have an attitude like that.
Right. And of course, they felt themselves in their late 30s starting to get stiffer than they used to be. They didn't exercise very much. So they did a wise thing. They came to a program that isn't boring, you know, it's not a routine, something that would be interesting to them, and where they would learn to get younger, learn to move more youthfully. So,
is there any, I guess, give us an idea of some of the things that you do in this program?
Well, we can do some things on air, just a tiny sample of things, because a lot of people who are maybe listening to your program right now, and yourself, and myself, are sitting. Right? So we're all saying, now, I would not suggest this for people while they're driving their car. But if you're sitting, just observe how you're sitting, and have your feet be about the same width apart as your hips, and have them not too far out in front of you. Have your feet right under your knees and fairly close to you.
Okay.
Yeah?
I do.
No. Okay? Now, what I'd like you to do is start to push yourself straight up without using your hands on your table or chair. Just push yourself straight up in the air and land. Just 1 inch. Just like a little bounce.
Okay.
Okay? Now, can you do that 3 or 4 times? Bounce, bounce, bounce.
Now, are we supposed to stand straight up or just up a little bit and then down again?
A little bit, just like you're bouncing a ball on your chair.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So see if we can do it a few times. Bounce, bounce, bounce.
All right.
Yeah?
Okay.
Now, can you bounce forward to the front of your chair?
Absolutely.
Can you bounce backwards to the back of your chair?
Yep.
Forwards?
Forward and back. Okay, I can see that. It's interesting what you're feeling in your legs and in your hips as far as things that you weren't used to using before.
Right. Those muscles are critically important muscles. People use their hands to get up instead. Now, to find a good posture in the chair, if you just bounce once more to the middle and stay there, but think that you're going to jump, right? Your attitude is, I'm going to jump.
Okay.
But you don't have to. In fact, you can now just listen to the radio and talk on the radio and write some notes down, talk to a friend. But there's an attitude in sitting in a chair as if you were moving.
Oh, okay.
You see?
So it sort of locks into the brain that you're doing something other than what you're doing is what you're suggesting.
Well, you're giving the brain an action that it's preparing for, rather than simply sitting in the chair like a lump.
Okay.
And which will cause people to slump.
Hence the term couch potato.
Yeah. So simple little things like that. If you do several of those kinds of exercises a day, can rebuild your world of how you relate to the world. Your posture changes, your coordination again changes, and your abilities change. A lot of people find that they it's painful to sit in a chair all day, and and there are lots of things. We have a whole section of the Change Your Age program that's on sitting in chairs. But you sit in chairs sometimes in ways that you probably wouldn't have done since you were 3 or 4.
Ah.
And you learn to develop clearly ways of moving with your chair that make it more of a resting place than a place that you sit on forever.
It's interesting, as you were describing and we were going through that basic chair-sitting exercise, how the mind engages. So it seems to me, does it put the mind in a perpetual state of, I guess, forward thinking or forward movement? Is that another thing that this does?
Well, yeah. So the second big idea in Change Your Age, besides moving more youthfully, is that you have to use your mind and kind of solve the movements like a puzzle.
Okay.
So what you're asked to do, like sitting in a chair and jump sitting that we just did, that's pretty simple. But some of the lessons are mentally complex. People lose track of their left and right side and interlace my right fingers with my left foot and do what? And so they get mental confusion. And that's good. Because if you overcome that confusion, and everybody does, it's not that challenging, what you get is a combination in the Change Your Age program of working with your mind to concentrate on where your body parts are and how they all go together. And you're simultaneously gaining flexibility and agility and a little bit of strength. And so the body and the mind are working together, all together, to use your body and brain to feel younger, stronger, and more fit. This is the first program, and I think that's an important thing to mention. This is the first program that I know of that's a program based on body movement, designed specifically to work with your brain, to work with brain neuroplasticity, the plastic properties of your brain and its ability to change and learn. The first program that really uses the mind while you're exercising. Most of the time people space out when they exercise, or they go into a state of meditation, or they're watching television.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You look at most health clubs today and the audacity of putting a television in front of every piece of equipment. It's like, what are you doing, It just is crazy. You could just watch TV at home and exercise if you're going to do that. So. Right.
But see, it's not interesting.
Right, exactly.
It's boring, and the basic fact is going to the gym is boring for most people. And so here's a program where, I can go to class, and whatever happens today, and I don't know what it will be because it's not based on yesterday.
It's interesting, Dr. Wildman. I'm starting to get a real clearer picture now of what you're talking about here, and it's quite interesting, and that is, as people go to the gym, they get into routines. Like you said, they'll jump on the treadmill, and the next thing you know, their mind is off somewhere else, or they're watching television. But it was the routine that got you into the condition you were in the first place, and this is, one of those programs, or this program specifically takes you out of the routine and puts you really into the moment, it sounds like.
Yes, that's right. Where you have to think while you're using your muscles and while you're doing the exercises. You have to think and feel. And so what you're being asked to do is to refine your ability to sense. Not just to move with more refinement, but to sense with more refinement. And many people never learned that. A lot of athletes who are very good learn to sense certain things, but not to move in a refined way. For example, there are differences between the athletes and ex-athletes who take the program and musicians who take the program. Because musicians are used to having to develop musculature and movements in order to perform in a more refined manner. Refinement is sort of a goal. And refinement can be a goal in athletics, but often it's more emphasized by what you can measure in terms of speed or strength, or you defeated the other team. So refinement is something that you have to sense in your body. And a lot of people don't know how to really go in their body as the authority and discover their own authority.
Mm-hmm.
And you see this most of all when people have had falls. After they've had a fall, there's a certain fear and lack of confidence that occurs in their walk and their attitude towards everything they do, because it could happen again. And so we have inside of Change Your Age an excellent balance program, and also a section I put in called Learning How to Fall, which is a way to, if you're going to fall well.
Well, anybody who's ever played basketball comes to understand when you fall, you definitely don't put your hands out to break your fall.
Yeah, right.
Now, where can people find classes or take classes on Change Your Age?
Well, two ways of doing that. They can go to our website, and that is changeyouragenetwork.com.
Okay.
It's a network website, and on there, by the way, is a very important piece of work, which is when they get to the Change Your Age Network site, there's a mobility survey. They can click onto the mobility survey and take the mobility survey. And the mobility survey is the first of its kind, because what it's looking for is your quality of motion rather than quantity of motion.
Right, okay.
I mean, basically what we've been talking about throughout the program is this program, Change Your Age, improves your quality of motion with no interest in the quantity of it. It's not I don't care how many stairs you climb. I care that you climb there well.
And I was just thinking of an enjoyable movie called 18 Again, starring George Burns.
Yes, I missed that one.
No, it's a great. I thought it was one of the greatest, to me, most enjoyable age reversal movies. You know, there's a lot of them out there, like Freaky Friday, so, for instance. But this one, he's having an 81st birthday party. Everybody's around celebrating with him, and he makes a wish. And him and his grandson are actually very close, and his grandson is in his freshman year of college. And so he makes a wish, wishing that he was 18 again. And that's exactly what happens. There's a car crash. The soul goes into the young grandson while he stays in a coma, and so there he is. He gets to be 18 again. And what's interesting is there's a scene where he's on the college campus at night, and he's just going crazy, just doing cartwheels the whole bit. But what he had noticed before that is, as he was about to light a cigar, that he dropped the book of matches. So he leans over to pick him up, and this really goes in line with what you've been talking about with Change Your Ages. His mind mentally felt that it was a struggle to bend over and pick up the matches, something that simple. Mm-hmm. And as he was doing that, you've seen the movement like, okay, this is supposed to be a struggle for me. And then all of a sudden you see his eyes kind of light up like, wait a minute. And so he throws the matches back down on the ground and just leans over and picks them up, and he just smiles and then just goes crazy, just something that simple. But the point being is that a lot of us do get into routines where we actually cause our bodies to break down just for the sheer fact of routine. Does that make sense?
That's exactly right. We take habits from the past and that aren't very well developed. They're not necessarily good habits. And we practice them over and over and over again, and we lose awareness of the habit itself, as we lose awareness of the feeling of the habit, and we don't know we're doing it. And we get by, we walk, we get to work on time, that kind of thing. And most of our friends don't notice those things because they also have bad habits they're locked up into, and nobody teaches us these things in school. Mm-hmm. So nobody knows. And so one of the remarkable things that happens in a Change Your Age program is that people can learn to develop the ability to sense and feel themselves and see other people differently, and recognize these kinds of dangerous habits and reverse them.
Mm-hmm. Are there any?
And that's really what Change Your Age means. It's
that's
literally Change Your Age.
Yeah. That's very exciting. I mean, I'm starting to get what you're talking about. It's really quite interesting, actually.
So you asked earlier about how to get a hold of us, and I said to go to the changeyouragenetwork.com website.
Right.
And on that website is a mobility survey, and it's the first and only survey I know of that deals with the quality of motion rather than the quantity of motion. And it's a website that the survey on the website is one that many people find they improve the way that they feel, and their pain levels go down just simply taking the survey.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's got to be encouraging, a test that actually removes pain rather than induces it.
And what you get at the end is a score. You get a score as to how old are you in terms of your real movement age. You know, how old are you really? You might be 60, you take the test, and when you get the test done, you actually discover that the way that you move puts you at 64.
Oh, my goodness.
Or 56, whatever. But one of the things that you can do is get back at the end of the test. You can push a button, and where you were weakest, where you were lowest in your results, get a free sample lesson from Change Your Age, from the program, from the book, and it will give you, like, let's say it's balance is an issue, then you'll get a balance lesson that will come back, and a couple of other suggestions is what to do to improve your balance.
And again, people, what website do they need to go to?
Okay, so again, if you go to the ChangeYourAgeNetwork.com, yeah.
Okay.
Then what they can also do, and this is why we're having this talk, they need to register at that website to sign up for an October 11th, 12th, and 13th workshop in Portland.
Okay.
Well, on the 11th, which is a Friday night, I give a free demonstration. It's an hours-long free demonstration. And then October 12th and 13th is the weekend of the workshop, the Saturday, Sunday. And people who will go will never forget it.
I'm certain of that.
They'll never forget it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here on the program. It's encouraging to know about programs like yours that are just, not like what you typically see or hear about, that have wonderful, it sounds like, a very diverse range of results rather than just, predictable ones.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. And also, if people want to talk to someone, they could talk to Susan Marshall at 503-313-9813. That's 503-313-9813.
Very good. Dr. Wildman, thank you for joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And, let's do it next time.
Keep on moving.
It'll be a good week. It'll be a very interesting weekend, and maybe you should come.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
I hope to see you there.
And there you go, listeners, an opportunity for you to change your motion and change your routine into something very different, and altogether to be able to change your age. Be sure to visit us at Beyond50Radio.com. We do have a free weekly e-newsletter for you to sign up for as well. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Daniel Davis. This is the Beyond 50 radio program, and remember, live your day past halfway.